So from time to time, I let you guys submit questions into the podcast, and I'm going to answer those live for you guys. And so if you guys ever want to do that, feel free to go in the show notes below and submit your question to me because I want to answer your guys' questions. I don't want to talk. And so I got a really good question from Katarina, and she says, "Where do I start financially?" And this question is really good because it's very broad, it's very general, but it's also what a lot of people's brains are thinking. It's like, where do I start? There's so much information. Like, I just need that roadmap to begin this process. And if I have that roadmap, I think I'm going to figure this game out. And it's not as hard as you think. And I'm going to walk you through the steps specifically as to what you need to start and get started right this second. And so I don't want to waste time talk about theory or anything like that. We're going to talk about a few things that are really, really important. And we're going to talk about the documents and the specific things. I'm going to give you those resources for free just to get started. So if you're listening to this podcast, and you're not going to start after this, you might as well turn it off right now because you're not ready to take action. And I'm going to call you out because I'm done with people not taking action. It's not helpful for you. It's a waste of your time, respectfully. And I want you guys to get results. And so if you're listening to this podcast, it's time to get the notebook out. It's time to get the pen out. It's time to write the notepad in your old iPhone, right? We need to take action. And so when you ask this question, I expect people to listen to this, but not only listen to hear and listen to my voice and understand theory, but I want you guys to take practical action. This will help you guys tenfold, and I'm going to walk through specifically the steps I would take you through. So number one, please breathe. I think a lot of people, when it comes to money, they have this invisible field in front of them. And this invisible field holds them back from so much. And if they just understood that this isn't as hard as you think, and that most of your jobs are much harder than what you're about to embark upon. Most of the stuff I do now is a lot easier than when I worked at Deloitte as a CPA, as an audit in the audit practice. I was a manager there for 7 years. And I can tell you for sure that trying to piece together a cash flow statement at a little private client that doesn't know what they're doing was a lot tougher than personal finance. And a lot of you guys have way tougher jobs than what you're about to learn. And so the reason people don't, they stop or they pause or they freak out or they hesitate or they don't start now or they procrastinate, whatever the case is because this invisible field that's been created by our society that money is taboo and money isn't something you learn and the school systems don't teach it and my parents don't teach it. All that kind of stuff is going through your head right now. And what you'll realize is that when you follow people like myself, legitimate CPAs that have actually built real wealth for myself, but not only myself, but actually thousands of other people, and it will eventually be millions, mark my word. And so when we talk about this, I say breathe for a good reason because I think a lot of people's emotions just start triggering all over the place. And we actually had a presentation last night in Budget Dog Academy from Dave Wan, and his whole presentation, it was actually a TED Talk, and he came and graciously presented to my academy, was the emotional triggers of money. And he talked so much about his story, and it was very, very brave is the best way to put it. Like what he was able to get out there publicly and his relationship with his mom, who ended up passing away from cancer. Like there was so much packed in that 1 hour presentation and so empowering for everybody listening to that, just to be in that circle and to experience that. And so Dave talked a lot about this invisible field that we have, and I talk about it all the time as well. And he said, man, I had the same exact issue. And it was a lot of these emotions running through money because I wasn't breathing. He had a panic attack. There was a lot of things that happened in his personal life. And he said, if I would have just like understood like the root cause, and he walked us through the whole entire process of like technical exercises to figure out what that root cause was and peel back the onion. If he would have done that earlier in his life, he would have been a lot better in a lot better position, he said. And so I say this a lot is because I think the second money comes up, the second I start talking about how to get started, like the blood pressure is higher, the emotions are higher, and you can't think clearly. And there's a lot of things running through your mind that just aren't really logical. And that's okay, but we need to address that right now. So if you're feeling those feelings right this second as we're talking, as I'm speaking about this topic, there's likely some negative cognitions that are firing. And there's some likely limiting beliefs, let's call it, or negative cognitions that are firing right now. And my behavioral psychologist in the academy discusses and addresses this wholeheartedly, because this is a big piece of the puzzle. And if you don't tame your emotions, and he said last night, he said, name it to tame it. So if you know what that thing is that always gets you emotionally triggered and you can name it, then you can tame it. And that was a very powerful set of words that he used last night to really put a label on something so that you can kind of control it a little better, or at least manage it. Because not everything, we can't control everything, but we can manage things better. And that's what success, comes from. And so I want to remind everybody that everyone thinks that, like, because I'm financially successful, that I just had this like walk in the park and it was like so easy and like there was no struggle and it was like the easiest thing ever. I came from zero financial literacy and I didn't start till I was 23. So to give you perspective, like I talked about this before in a podcast, and I lost $1 million by not knowing what I didn't, what I didn't know. And I think a lot of people would do this is they live this life of like learning or taking from what they learned in the past and they apply it to their current life and it doesn't really apply. And they hold on to these beliefs forever. And this could be money beliefs, this could be anything. But because this is so deeply embedded into their subconscious, it plays out real time and it doesn't really translate to current day. And I saw this with the savings aspect. Everyone in my world told me to save, but nobody told me about financial literacy. They said, save your money, save your money. So I saved my money and my net worth was negative. And it didn't really apply because you have to invest to build wealth. And I talk about that a lot. And as a result, I've lost $1 million because I saved a lot of money early on versus investing it. It's such an easy adjustment, but it's such a hard adjustment from a mental standpoint. And this is why I say breathe. So before we go in, I want you to think with a calm head here, because this is the only way you're going to really truly learn. Now, once you breathe, once you have a even keel, level-headed type of self, the next piece is education. If you are not educated, you're not going to learn. And so like a lot of people are like, well, this is a sell of your academy because it's education. Well, yeah, obviously, because it's an actual solution that's going to get you exponential results. And education's the name of the game. Why do we have school? Why do we have college? Because you have to start there. And so I came onto the scene 5 years ago or so, and people would ask me how to start, what stock to pick, what investments to pick. And I would always have a different answer than I do now. And it was just like, hey, start with the Roth IRA, start with the S&P 500 fund. And then the markets got rocky and I had a lot of people coming for my head with such a fundamental piece of advice, like nothing crazy, but that's the lack of education they had. And obviously it wasn't very a great feeling to be blamed for investment decisions somebody else made based on things I talked about, which was very fundamental and still is to this day. But what I've changed my approach on is what I say when somebody says, how do I get started? It's not the Roth IRA with the S&P 500 fund. It's not. It's education. And this is where Budget Dog Academy does come into play. And so how can you expect stuff to change if you aren't educated? If you don't know any better, if I knew as much as Bill Gates, I'd probably be as successful as Bill Gates. I'm paying to get Bill Gates' knowledge. I'm paying to get Warren Buffett's knowledge because it's the only sensical decision that I would have to make to get to that level. Like I won't get to that level unless I know stuff they know. If I was able to tap into Warren Buffett's brain, my pocketbooks would be probably the richest person in the world or close to it, just like him. But it's because he knows things I don't know. So I'm on basically an ever-ending quest to learn more. And I apply this in my everyday life. And so there's options for free and there's options for paid. I can tell you right now, I've done both. On my personal level, and typically free is garbage and it's typically not the best in the world. And I make a very good point in my free content to bring value and not waste your time. And I make a very, very strong point of that. If you've ever been to my 3-day challenge, you'll understand what I'm talking about. We don't do things for free just to get your email or just to get your number. That's not what we do here. We are very, very intentional, and we deliver a high quality free product. But at the same time, I will say there is nothing like paid. And the reason paid is because the resource they go into. I pay people internally in Budget Dog Academy to make it run. And so people are like, well, why do you charge if you know and you don't need the money? It's like, because I'm providing a service and product that is going to exponentially change your life. And I got to pay people to make that happen. I can't be a one-man crew for thousands of people. And I can't impact millions of lives unless I pay other people. And so I don't need the money. I don't care if you work with me, respectfully. But if you want to, you can, and I have to pay people to make your experience great. Student success, marketing to make you believe, sales to get you into the academy, success on the inside, provide an exceptional experience. My time and my expertise that I applied to the academy that took me a decade to learn. Like, to speed that process up, to take the roadmap to financial freedom and for 100% donations to Dravet syndrome of what you'd be paying for this, I get $0 from this book. This is a paid option. I don't make money from it. I don't care because I make a massive impact on Dravet syndrome and for my daughter. And so I'm very passionate about that. We're raising $1 million for Dravet syndrome. If you want to donate, go in the show notes below and go ahead and donate. And so a lot of the stuff we do now is impact. And so there are paid options, but that paid is going through for good causes. And it's a very important piece of the conversation, piece of what Budget Dog is and what we built here. We have 15 to 20 people in the back end that you guys aren't seeing that are delivering exceptional services. Why we get crazy. We had somebody increase their net worth in like 2 months yesterday by $50,000. We had people become millionaires last week. Like, it's not even, there is no alternative. The Academy is the best financial program by a long shot. So we do have paid and we also have free. So you choose obviously which option you want there. Now, the other thing is, like I said, paid speeds up the learning curve. It puts it into action right away. And this is what cheap people do not understand. And this is a concept because I've been there. So it's me talking to my older self. When you come into a free or paid option, when you're paying, obviously use judgment, don't buy from some shyster on the internet, but like if you find somebody that's quality, that provides a exceptional service and they actually provide real value, what you pay them should be a fraction of the value you receive. And I talk to this all the time is a lot of broke people, let's call it that way, are afraid to pay money because they think everything's a scam. And the word scam is a scam. Like, everybody that's broke always, I don't usually hear like rich people say scam. Like, sure, there's some scams out there that are huge, Enron and stuff like that. But typically, like, the people that are so fearful and like afraid of life, or the people that use the word scam all the time, they never have money. Like, let's be real. And so the reason they don't is because they're not investing in themselves because they're afraid of everything. And they actually operate from a place of scarcity and fear. That's not a place to live. And so if you think everything's a scam, you have the wrong mindset. Yeah, have some professional skepticism. That's what I was taught at Deloitte as an auditor. It's important to have. Use some good judgment. But if you have a good option in front of you and it's paid, think and ask the value. Stop asking the cost. And because it's going to speed your process up in a massive way. And what does money need? It needs time. And so this concept will blow people's mind because nobody gets this. Like, nobody I talk to gets this until they get it. And when they get it, they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known sooner. Why have you heard everybody that figures out money say, I wish I would have known it sooner, but you never hear somebody early, like that's late in their life that doesn't figure out money saying, I don't want to learn that. Like, they're like, gosh, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have like learned, like all of these things. Everybody always says that. Why do they say that? Because they had the aha moment. They're on the other side of that invisible glass and like, oh my gosh, if I would have just known I could pay X number of dollars and get this Y amount of value, I would have done it like a million times over. And so when you're paying to play and you speed your process up, you have learning lessons like, you learn the fees, you learn investment options, you learn how to get more cash flow in your situation. That creates more money, which creates more value. And on a compounded basis effect, it will change your life by millions of dollars. And so you can choose the free option. I have all the content in the world. You can go to my YouTube, very deep content, my podcast that you're listening to right now, my Instagram, very deep content you could apply and start today. Or you could literally learn the exact roadmap if you would like that will change your life forever. And so that is what the Academy is. And that's the power of paid, because this will change your life by millions of dollars. So education is a massive piece of this puzzle. Now, the next piece is once you have the education, I talk about this in the 3 levels of financial freedom, is you need patience. And so if you don't have patience, you are going to struggle. And so when we map out all of our students like financial roadmaps, we say, okay, you're going to become a millionaire in X amount of years. You're going to become financially free in X amount of years. We will show you'll become debt free in X amount of years. We'll show you that progression. that timeline's defined. Unless you royally mess something up or you try to, manually break the system we built, it's just a matter of time. And so you just need patience. It's not going to happen overnight, but you can choose today to lower your blood pressure by knowing the outcome. Imagine if you ran a race and you knew the outcome before you started, like you were so confident the race is going to play out just like you wanted it to, you would have a lot less anxiety. And your anxiety goes down, your fear goes down, your the unknown goes down. You live a better life right away. You might not be financially free today, but you live a better life right away. And that's such a good feeling, good place to be. And that's what I say, have patience, right? Don't be that person that the majority of people's brain capacity, guys, can't understand this educational concept and this patience concept. They aren't primed for it. It like literally the human brain's not primed to want to pay for education and also have patience. It's literally human nature. You have to go against your human nature to feel comfortable doing that. And that's a hard thing to get over, overcome. It's not just going to happen. It's a trained thing in the brain that's happened for me for decades. And I've seen it on both sides. I used to be the person that was like, I'm never going to pay somebody for education. Yet I went to college. Make it make sense. And then I was the person that was like, I need it right now. And versus saying, hey, let's see the bigger picture. Let's play this out the right way. Let's win the long term because we will win, guaranteed, versus trying to take these shortcuts. And the human brain's not designed to do that. It's not designed to sit there and be patient. It's designed to create, to build, to innovate. That's what we're built to do as humans. And so to switch this, that's why people struggle so much with money. They don't see the bigger picture. They're like, why don't I have $1 million right now? Why don't I have financial freedom right now? It takes time. It's okay. And so the education, the breathing, obviously, education and patience is huge. Now, let's break down exactly the technical steps you need to take right this second. So to prime us for this conversation, it's important that you know everything so far. The next piece is understanding the concept of my entire framework at Budget Dog. So track your money, grow your money, protect your money. Let's talk about what that means. Tracking your money, I have to have a financial system, an automated financial system to know where every last dollar is going, but also very seamlessly and automated. I don't want to take a bunch of time. This isn't a timely exercise. I want to systemize this entire thing. Once I know where every dollar is going, I can start to grow that money. I can put those dollars in the right buckets and educate myself on growing your money or investing your money, essentially, right? And then lastly is once I grow it, I have a target on my back. I got to protect my money. It's a super simple concept. And if you understand that concept, and we'll take you through this, I will talk about the 3 documents you need to begin the track your money component. So there's 3 pieces: track your money, grow your money, protect your money. We're talking about just tracking your money. And there's a million things I could add here, but I'm going to simplify it very simply just to get started today. Because the question was from Katarina is, where do I start? The first document you need, I'm not going to say budget, I'm going to say a balance sheet. A balance sheet is simply tracking your net worth, your current snapshot of your financial position or health. This is the truth teller. This tells me where you sit. And when I was at 23, I had a negative $8,000 net worth. My assets minus my liabilities, in short, were negative $8,000. I didn't feel like that. I was saving a bunch of money, but why was that the case? Because I didn't understand wealth and where to put this on the balance sheet. I didn't understand how to put into cash flowing assets like I talk about all the time. Stocks, real estate, businesses. Didn't know that. The biggest piece of this is to see where you are, and then you plan out where you want to go and have a perfect document to show you how to do that with a 4-step process to document how much cash flow in each goal, once you value stack your goals in order, will take you. And I'll add that in the show notes below. Now, once I know where I'm sitting, where I want to go, what's the other document I need? An amortization schedule. And an amortization schedule is going to be a debt payoff timeline. So all of my liabilities on that balance sheet need to have a specific timeline. I need to understand the principal. I need to understand the interest paid. I need to understand the timeline exactly, the exact date that I'm paying this off. And I should be able to tell you before I start, how much principal am I going to pay on this car debt? How much interest am I going to pay on this car debt? And when am I going to pay this off? If you come to me and say, I just don't know, man, it's just, I don't know. I would never pay off the student loan debt. It's impossible. You're operating from an emotional standpoint, and there's zero logic going through your brain because there is an end goal to this. And so having this amortization schedule that coincides with the balance sheet's liability section is substantial. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is the budget. So my cash flow from my budget, doing a zero-based budget, and I need to know my fixed income plus my variable income minus my fixed and variable expenses minus my one-time expenses, those big things like weddings, cars, etc., using a sinking fund for those. So you plan and you don't have those one-time things just pop up, minus your savings and investments should equal zero. Now, before you add your savings and investments in there, just do the first piece of that formula, right? Fixed plus variable income minus fixed plus variable expenses minus one-time expenses. That is your free cash flow number. That free cash flow number goes towards your goals that sit on your balance sheet. Those balance sheet goals might be debt payoff, which would be on your amortization schedule. See how they're all linking? It's like a triangle. But they also might be investing. They also might be saving for a down payment. They also might be for a house, etc., right? And so that cash flow will end up showing up in your savings and investment on the budget to allocate towards the goals that you've set on your budget or your balance sheet, which then show potentially on your amortization schedule if those goals are debt. And those should always circulate together, those three financial statements together, and I will provide the exact document for you in the show notes below. Literally just apply this concept and you will start today. Those three financial statements tell you your whole financial picture in a nutshell. We could talk about other things, and I'm going to talk about the other things you need as well. So we talked about budget. We talked about balance sheet. We talked about an amortization schedule, if applicable, if you have debt. And yes, all debt is included, your mortgage, everything. Now, assuming those three things are met, there are other things within the big track your money, grow your money, protect your money component that we do need to cover, but it's impossible. And the question was, where do I start? Not how do I put this all together? If you want to put this all together, if your question is, how do you put everything we talked about plus a lot more together? Your answer is Budget Dog Academy, and that's in the show notes below. You can apply with my team. This is a very expensive investment, but again, back to what we talked about. You have an option for free or paid. It's on you. We will exponentially make that value worth your time. Trust me on that. We've done this enough. We've helped thousands of people, and people move at a rapid rate exponentially at what their investment was in the program. And think about it as an investment, not a cost, because then you've already leveled up your thinking, which is going to change your life forever, versus saying, what's the cost? What's the cost? Those people are broken. Those people will never get ahead, respectfully. So let's talk about the other items down here. So we talked about budget, balance sheet, amortization schedule. The other things is, what is your debt payoff plan in conjunction with all debts in your situation? What is your money plan, step by step, of where you allocate each and every dollar? Are you automating all your bills, all your debt pay downs, and all your investments? You should be. Your investment accounts are outlined very clearly within line with your goals, and they link to your goals on your balance sheet. The investment resources needed to do that are important, that you have those in your repertoire. We have investment allocations within those accounts. Which investment products do I pick within my 401k? Which investment products do I pick within my Roth IRA? How do I know that? How do I know what allocation percentage goes to each fund? How do I know how many dollars go into that specific account for my bigger goals on my balance sheet? All of this stuff has to link. We want to go into investment plan to reach goals, specifically every dollar in every account to investment allocations in order to reach the goal in the exact timeline that we decide. There should be no guessing. And if there are, you just don't have the proper resources and tools I'm talking about. The next piece is your children. We want to invest for our children, likely. Some of you guys have children, some of you don't. Now we want to move to the protect your component. We talked about growing your component. We talked about tracking your money. And now the protect your money. How do you know what insurances you need? What's the proper coverage? What's the amount that you have? Do you have it at your employer, or do you have it in the independent market? You should have it in the independent market, by the way. Your employer insurance does not cover you. It does, but it's very lackadaisical. Let's call it that way. Do you have a trust and will set up? If applicable, do you have your whole estate plan set up with a durable healthcare power of attorney? Do you have a financial power of attorney? Do you have all of these things set up in the back end in case you get, you end your life, things don't play out the way they should, and the worst of the worst happens, or something tragic happens? Are your kids protected? Is your family protected? Is the state going to take over if you don't have this plan? Is it going to go through probate? There's a lot of questions you have to ask yourself. The other piece of this is tax strategy. You know how many people come to me and they have zero idea? They're like, how do I save taxes is the only question I get. But they never say like, well, my investments, if I do this and I do that and I invest in this real estate, I could save this amount of taxes. They just go at it. The amount of savings and taxes that you could potentially, which is your biggest expense all time for everybody, in your lifetime. If you know tax strategy, you will change your life in a massive way. Also, credit. We've got to make sure our credit's in line. And lastly is money mindset, having the right mindset when you think about this stuff. Now, you wrap all that stuff together, guys. You have you're breathing, you're educated, you have patience, you understand the 3 documents to start, you apply the grow and protect component, you will be financially free within time, and you'll know today when you'll be financially free, which is the biggest thing, because then your blood pressure goes down and your anxiety goes down, which is the whole point of this whole entire thing. And so we can focus on what actually needs to be focused on, which is family, which are big life goals, which are mission statements, raising the $1 million for Gervais syndrome, being able to be present with my daughters. Those types of things are the most important things to me. And so I want everybody to have the option to choose the life they want to live, but it takes work and it takes all of the stuff I talked about today. But with that being said, I hope this helps, guys. And I will see you guys next week. Make sure you check the show notes below if you want to start today, and get this rolling on the road. And I will see everybody next week.
You've been listening to Money on My Mind with your host, Brendan Schlagbaum. If you found value in today's discussion, share it with someone who could benefit from it too. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, so you never miss a money mastery tip. Until next time, stay passionate about your financial journey and keep taking bold steps towards your money goals.